The first thing you need to know is this. Your brain lies to you in emergencies, those initial seconds after someone yells fire or an alarm goes off. Your brain is fighting itself. On one side, you have the amygdala, your ancient threat detector, screaming danger. On the other side, your prefrontal cortex, your logical brain, saying, wait, let's assess this rationally. And here's the problem. In familiar, safe environments, like a bar you're celebrating in, your logical brain usually wins that first round. Your brain assumes everything is normal until proven catastrophically otherwise. Scientists call this normalcy bias. Witnesses from Kranz, Montana, reported this exact phenomenon. In those first crucial seconds, people didn't run. They looked around. They looked at each other. They waited for social proof, evidence from other people's reactions that this was real. Is this part of the show? Are those fireworks? Maybe it's a prank? Your brain is literally negotiating with reality, trying to fit this terrifying information into a framework that makes sense. And every second you spend in that negotiation is a second you're not moving towards safety. But it gets worse. Even when you consciously recognize danger, your body might betray you. Let me explain the 4 survival responses your nervous system can trigger. You've probably heard of fight or flight, but there are actually 4. Freeze, flight, fight, and fawn. Research shows that most people will experience flight, the overwhelming urge to run. Adrenaline floods your system. Heart rate spikes. Vision narrows to a tunnel. This is your sympathetic nervous system taking over. You run, often toward the most familiar exit, which might not be the safest one. A smaller percentage will freeze, not because they're cowards, not because they're weak, but because an ancient mammalian response causes temporary paralysis. Survivors describe it the same way. I wanted to move, but I couldn't. My legs wouldn't work. I felt like I was watching myself from outside my body. Some people will fight, not attacking anyone, but actively problem-solving, breaking windows, organizing people, dragging others to safety. Their thinking brain manages to stay online, even under stress. And a small group will fawn, trying to appease or negotiate with the situation, attempting to calm others, looking for authority figures, trying to create order in chaos. Here's the critical part. You don't choose which response you get. It's neurobiological, determined by your genetics, your past experiences, your current physical state, even where you're standing in the room. At Kranz, Montana, witnesses described all of these responses. People trying to break windows to escape. Others covered in burns running into the street. Some standing still, overwhelmed by smoke and confusion in a venue where one floor was underground. Spatial disorientation at its deadliest. None of these responses are wrong. Your brain is trying to protect you with the tools evolution gave it. But here's where it gets really dangerous. The exit paradox. Under extreme stress, your brain doesn't think creatively. It defaults to mental shortcuts. And one of the strongest shortcuts is this. When scared, go where you know. This is why people die at blocked exits. They're trying to leave through the entrance they came in, even if there are other exits clearly marked. Their stressed brain can't process new spatial information. They see the door they remember, and tunnel vision prevents them from seeing alternatives. The herding effect amplifies this. When you see a crowd running toward one exit, your brain screams, "Follow them! They must know something!" But that crowd might all be operating on the same faulty shortcut. You end up in a deadly bottleneck. Add smoke, darkness, and the perceptual narrowing that comes with adrenaline. You literally lose peripheral vision under stress. And you have a recipe for tragedy in spaces that should have been survivable. Now let's talk about something uncomfortable. Moral judgments during disasters. After every tragedy, we create narratives about heroes and cowards. The person who helped others escape is noble. The person who ran out first is selfish. But neuroscience tells us it's not that simple. Whether you help others or focus on your own survival depends on factors you can't control in the moment. Were you with loved ones? People with family nearby often stay to find them, regardless of personal risk. Do you have emergency training? Former military, firefighters, healthcare workers. Their brains are literally rewired through repeated exposure to stress. And there's pure neurobiological luck. Some people's thinking brain stays online under stress better than others. That's genetics and childhood development, not moral superiority. The survivor who escaped quickly through a side exit while others struggled. That's not selfishness, that's biology. And the guilt they feel afterwards, survivor's guilt, that's real too. Their brain asking, why did I live when others died? Even though the answer is often just, you happen to be standing closer to that exit. We need to stop moralizing survival responses. So what can you actually do with this information? First, the 3-second rule. Every time you enter a new space, restaurant, bar, theater, anywhere, spend 3 seconds identifying 2 things, 2 different exits. And where crowds might bottleneck, your brain creates mental maps of spaces. By consciously noting exits when you're calm, you create neural pathways that might activate even when you're panicked. Second, mental rehearsal. Visualization isn't just for athletes. Spending a minute imagining if fire broke out here, I would go toward that exit creates what neuroscientists call memory encoding. Your stressed brain is more likely to remember a plan you visualized than create a new plan under pressure. Third, the anchor phrase. If you ever need to help others evacuate, don't just scream fire. That triggers panic without direction. Shout, exit this way, or follow me to the door. You're giving people's stressed brains actionable information, not just fear. Fourth, the small group principle. In emergencies, grab 1 or 2 people near you and give them direct commands. Come with me now. This overrides their freeze response by activating social compliance. Their brain follows your certainty when it has none of its own. And finally, self-compassion. If you ever freeze in an emergency, if you run without helping, if your body doesn't do what you think it should do, know this. Your brain was trying to protect you with hundreds of millions of years of evolutionary programming. There's no shame in biological survival responses. The tragedy at Crans, Montana reminds us that disasters don't announce themselves politely. They erupt in the middle of joy, celebration, normalcy. And in those 90 seconds of chaos, your brain becomes both your greatest asset and your most dangerous enemy. Understanding these responses doesn't guarantee survival, but it gives you a chance. If you've ever experienced an emergency, large or small, I'd love to hear how your body reacted. Share in the comments, respectfully. These conversations matter. Your story might help someone recognize their own response pattern. And remember, your brain's job is to keep you alive. Sometimes it freezes, sometimes it runs, sometimes it fights. All of these are your nervous system trying its best in the worst possible moment. There's no shame in surviving.